There was a real problem because a lot of people felt that that would never get on the radio. That's not my problem. My problem is my movie.
When Kevin Costner quietly revealed a surprising secret about Meghan Markle, it left Prince Harry completely stunned and unsure what to believe next. The moment quickly caught attention and raised many questions. What exactly did Kevin share that changed everything? Why did it shock Harry so deeply? The moment that changed the tone in Hollywood. The shift began in a place where few people expected anything unusual. It was meant to be a calm and simple conversation about a charity event along the California coast. The setting was Santa Barbara, a location known for its beauty and quiet elegance. The event in focus was the 1805 Live benefit, which had slowly grown into something far more important than a typical fundraiser. Over time, this gathering became one of those rare spaces where influence meets philanthropy in a quiet but powerful way. It was never just another celebrity event. Within the entertainment industry, it had earned a strong reputation as an exclusive meeting point for people who shape film, media, and entertainment from behind the scenes. Invitations were not taken lightly, and being present was often seen as a sign of belonging to a very select circle. During a discussion about the future of the benefit, Kevin Costner made a statement that quickly changed the mood in the room. Costner, who has spent decades building a respected career as an actor, director, and producer, is known for his calm nature and steady approach. He has always carried himself with authenticity and a strong sense of independence. He is not someone who often engages in public disagreements or makes bold public statements. However, on this occasion, his words stood out clearly. He explained that Meghan Markle would not be invited to future gatherings held at his private estate connected to the charity event. For those present, the statement did not feel casual. Instead, it felt like a firm boundary had been set. The reaction in the room was immediate but quiet. Conversations slowed, and people exchanged surprised looks. In Hollywood, where careful language and polite communication are usually the norm, such direct remarks are rare. When they do happen, they often carry deeper meaning. The impact of this moment was not limited to those who heard it in person. It quickly became something that people beyond the room would take notice of. The importance of the moment was not only about one name being removed from a guest list. The 1805 Live benefit in Santa Barbara had come to represent more than charity. It had become a symbol of elite networking within the entertainment world. Producers, executives, investors, and influential artists often gathered there. While they came to support charitable causes, they also used the opportunity to build and strengthen relationships that could shape major projects and decisions across the industry. Being included in such a setting carried quiet influence and respect. It offered access to conversations and connections that were not easily found elsewhere. For several years, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had been working to build their place within this same Hollywood environment. After stepping away from their formal royal roles in Britain, they moved to Montecito, California, hoping to be closer to the center of media and entertainment power. Their goal was clear. By being near key figures in the industry, they aimed to create lasting opportunities and establish a strong presence. For a time, their brand appeared to combine royal recognition with Hollywood ambition in a way that drew attention and interest. However, Costner's decision suggested that something within these circles might be changing. Observers within the industry began to consider whether this moment reflected a wider shift in how influential figures viewed the Sussex presence. In Hollywood, relationships often guide opportunities. Doors can open or close quietly, without public explanation. And much depends on trust, perception, and shared understanding. For some insiders, this remark hinted that the Sussex brand might now be receiving a more careful and cautious response from those who hold influence behind the scenes. While nothing was openly declared, the tone appeared to be shifting in a subtle but meaningful way. At the event itself, Prince Harry still stepped onto the stage. He smiled as cameras captured applause and handshakes. Everything on the surface appeared smooth and positive. Yet, beneath that polished image, a quiet tension seemed to remain. Even as the audience responded with warmth, there was a sense that something had changed. The moment had introduced a new layer of uncertainty into a space that usually operates with quiet confidence. Within Hollywood's powerful circles, where much is understood without being spoken, the ripple of this shift did not go unnoticed. As Kevin Costner made his position clear, and Prince Harry continued to engage with the crowd, many began to wonder about the future. Has the once strong Sussex presence begun to lose some of its quiet support among the very people who influence the most important opportunities in Hollywood? Distance that sparked questions in Santa Barbara. As the quiet realization from Kevin Costner's earlier remarks began to spread through Hollywood circles, attention quickly returned to the evening that first sparked curiosity. The setting was the 1805 Live Benefit in Santa Barbara, an event that, from the outside, appeared polished, elegant, and full of celebration. Cameras captured the soft glow of a high-profile charity gathering along the California coast. Guests arrived in refined evening attire, moving through the beautiful seaside estate as conversations flowed naturally. Industry figures, philanthropists, and well-known celebrities mingled under the warm Santa Barbara night, creating a scene that looked perfect to anyone watching from afar. To viewers following the official coverage, the evening seemed like another successful gathering of influential names coming together for a meaningful cause. Everything appeared smooth, calm, and well organized. However, for those who were physically present, the memory of that night carried a different feeling. Eyewitnesses later shared that something about the atmosphere felt unusually restrained. It was not uncomfortable or openly tense, but there was a noticeable distance that experienced observers of Hollywood's social settings could not ignore. In an environment where reputation and influence often move quietly, small details can speak very clearly. That evening, many people noticed those details. When Prince Harry stepped onto the stage to accept an award, the moment unfolded without any issue. Applause filled the room, cameras flashed brightly, and he appeared calm and confident as he addressed the audience. For those watching later, the scene reflected warmth and celebration. Yet inside the room, the interaction surrounding the stage told a softer and more complex story. Several insiders described Kevin Costner's behavior as carefully reserved throughout the event. Instead of the usual friendly warmth expected from a host, his exchanges with Meghan Markle remained brief and controlled. There were polite nods and quick acknowledgements, but there was little of the relaxed conversation or deeper engagement often seen between guests of similar status. The moment was not dramatic. There were no raised voices or visible disagreements. In fact, it was the absence of conflict that made the situation stand out. In Hollywood's carefully managed social world, tension rarely appears through open disagreement. Instead, it often shows through what is missing. A conversation that never begins, a greeting that ends too quickly, or a connection that feels incomplete can reveal more than words. Guests quietly shared their impressions with one another. Some believed the distance was intentional, while others felt that something may have shifted behind the scenes before the event even began. According to certain industry sources, there had been private discussions among agencies and representatives connected to the guest list. A few insiders suggested that Kevin Costner may have faced pressure from influential talent agencies to ensure that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex appeared alongside other major figures. However, people familiar with his long career found this idea difficult to accept. Over the years, he had built a strong reputation for independence and clear personal boundaries. Even during the celebration, that quiet separation remained visible. It left many observers thinking carefully about what might have been happening beneath the surface. Those who understood Kevin Costner's strong sense of independence felt there was something deeper behind the polite distance. This raised an important question. Why would someone known for firm boundaries allow such an unusual situation to unfold? Shortly after, one quiet remark began to circulate, sending waves of curiosity through both Hollywood and royal circles. Quiet moment that sparked a wider storm. The quiet tension surrounding the Santa Barbara charity event did not stay limited to small gestures and private observations. In the days that followed, the situation changed quickly and took a more serious direction. What first appeared to be a simple social distance began to grow into something far more important and concerning. The shift began when a comment linked to Kevin Costner started spreading across media circles and private conversations in the entertainment industry. Details of unverified allegations involving a real individual have been removed. Within both Hollywood and royal circles, the name Jeffrey Epstein carries a very heavy meaning. The scandal connected to the late financier had already caused major damage to the modern British monarchy. Prince Andrew's association with Epstein led to years of intense public attention, legal challenges, and strong criticism. The situation became so serious that he stepped back from royal duties and withdrew from public life. Images, legal records, and testimonies connected to the case left a lasting effect on how people viewed the royal institution. Because of this history, even vague speculation around sensitive topics can carry serious consequences. Unverified claims, especially those that circulate online without credible sources, can nevertheless influence perception when they appear to be echoed by well-known figures. As the conversation spread, the reaction was quick. Conversations began quietly among executives and producers across Los Angeles. In an industry where reputation is very important, even a small connection to a major scandal can raise serious concerns. Media strategists and corporate advisors started to look closely at the situation, knowing that public narratives can change very fast when high-profile names are involved. At the same time, the discussion reached London. Within royal circles, advisors responsible for protecting the image of the monarchy began to follow the situation carefully. The British royal family had already spent years trying to manage the damage caused by the Epstein controversy and its connection to Prince Andrew. Any sign of the issue returning created immediate concern among palace communication teams. Prince Harry found himself in the middle of this growing situation. After already dealing with family tensions and strong public attention, following his decision to step away from royal duties, he was once again connected to a controversy linked to the institution he once represented. What started as an uncomfortable moment at a charity event in Santa Barbara had now grown into a larger issue. A private tension had turned into a public discussion that could affect reputations, relationships, and institutions across both sides of the Atlantic. Rising concerns inside the palace. As discussions around Kevin Costner's remarks spread across Hollywood and international media, the impact quickly reached a place where reputation is handled with extreme care. Inside Buckingham Palace, advisors responsible for protecting the image of the British monarchy began quietly watching the situation. Reports were moving across both American and British news platforms, and what started as simple celebrity commentary was now moving closer to royal matters. This shift made palace officials consider whether the growing narrative could eventually affect the monarchy itself. In the year 2026, the timing created even greater concern. The royal family was already facing a very delicate period. King Charles III was dealing with ongoing health issues, which reduced his public appearances and placed more responsibility on the remaining senior royals. At the same time, Catherine, Princess of Wales, had stepped back from her duties as she focused on her recovery. With fewer working royals representing the crown, the institution appeared more exposed than usual at a time when stability was especially important. Because of this situation, palace officials wanted to avoid any new controversy, especially one connected to past scandals that had already caused serious damage. For many years, the Jeffrey Epstein case had cast a long shadow over the monarchy. Prince Andrew's connection to Epstein led to constant media coverage, legal challenges, and strong public criticism. This period weakened public trust and forced Andrew to step away from his royal duties. Even after that, advisors continued working carefully to rebuild the monarchy's credibility. Due to this history, any possible link, even indirect, between another royal figure and the same narrative carried serious risk. Within palace offices, communication teams began closely examining how quickly speculation could spread in today's fast-moving media environment. Once a story gains attention, it can grow rapidly, often moving ahead of confirmed facts. The idea that Meghan Markle's name could appear near such a sensitive topic raised concerns about reopening issues the monarchy had spent years trying to move beyond. As worries increased, quiet discussions became more serious behind palace doors. Legal advisors, constitutional experts, and senior aides began reviewing different possibilities, including situations that were once seen as unlikely. One important question stood at the center of these talks. If reputational harm reached a certain level, could titles connected to the royal family be removed? This possibility is not simple, It involves complex constitutional steps and could have wide political effects beyond Buckingham Palace. Still, the fact that such an option was being considered showed how seriously officials were treating the situation and its possible impact. What began as tense remarks at a charity event in Santa Barbara had now reached the highest levels of royal planning and decision-making. Inside these private discussions, every possible outcome was being carefully studied. Advisors continued preparing for consequences that might extend beyond the palace itself. Now, an old royal rule quietly returns to attention. Behind closed doors, one question is being examined with care. If a scandal threatens the crown, can royal titles truly be taken away? And if that happens, what kind of reaction would follow? A historic law returns to royal attention. As discussions inside Buckingham Palace became more serious, focus slowly turned toward a law that had remained untouched for over a century. Within legal offices and constitutional advisory rooms, experts began to carefully revisit the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917. This law was created during one of the most difficult periods in British history, at a time when the country faced deep political and social tension during the First World War. The act was introduced when the British government faced a sensitive issue involving members of the aristocracy who held royal titles, but also had ties to enemy nations. During that period, several noble families with German connections became a concern while Britain was at war. Their position created unease, as loyalty to the nation was being closely examined. To deal with this situation, Parliament passed a law that allowed the monarch to remove royal titles from individuals whose actions or loyalties were seen as harmful to the country. This law established an important constitutional principle that still exists today. It made it clear that royal titles, even though they carry deep history and tradition, are not beyond review. They are not permanent privileges that cannot be questioned. If the holder of a title is believed to have damaged the reputation or integrity of the crown, that title can be taken away through a formal process. For many decades, this legislation remained mostly symbolic. It stayed quietly within Britain's legal system, occasionally mentioned by historians but rarely brought into active discussion. In modern times, royal challenges and controversies were usually handled in softer ways. These often included stepping back from public duties or quietly giving up official roles, rather than using strong legal action. However, recent events began to test these traditional approaches. The situation involving Prince Andrew provided a modern example of how serious reputational issues could be managed. After strong public criticism connected to his association with Jeffrey Epstein, a major shift took place. Prince Andrew stepped back from royal duties and lost his military titles and honorary roles. While this decision did not involve the 1917 Act, it showed that the monarchy was willing to take firm and unusual steps when public trust was at risk. Now, according to individuals familiar with growing concerns inside royal circles, attention has turned toward whether a similar legal path could one day be considered in relation to Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Reports suggest that advisors have been quietly reviewing events, public statements, and ongoing developments connected to the situation. This review is said to be detailed and careful, reflecting the seriousness of the matter. Any move involving the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917 would not happen quickly or quietly. It would require a clear and structured constitutional process. Legal experts would need to closely examine the situation to decide whether it meets the conditions required by the law. This is not a simple decision, as the threshold for such action is high and must be carefully justified. The government would likely also play an important role. Matters involving royal titles are not only symbolic, but also political. Any decision could have wider implications beyond the palace, affecting public opinion and the country's constitutional balance. Because of this, the issue would likely move beyond private discussions and into the public space. If the process were to move forward, Parliament would almost certainly become involved. This could lead to debates in both the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Politicians, legal experts, and constitutional scholars would take part in discussions about precedent, authority, and the long-term impact of such a decision. These conversations would be closely watched, as they could shape how royal matters are handled in the future. Even the possibility of such a step has already created a strong reaction within royal circles. For generations, royal titles have stood as symbols of stability and continuity. They represent a long-standing tradition that connects the past with the present. The idea that one of these titles could be formally removed in modern times carries deep symbolic meaning. It signals a shift from tradition toward a more active and responsive approach. The tone of the conversation has clearly changed. What began as quiet concern has developed into careful legal examination. Although no official decision has been made, the renewed attention on the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917 shows how much the situation has evolved. It highlights the seriousness of the discussions taking place behind palace doors. An old law, once left in the background, is now being considered again. Its return to attention reflects a moment of change, where history and modern challenges meet. As the situation continues to develop, the questions surrounding royal roles, responsibilities, and accountability remain at the center of these important discussions. Hollywood's changing view around the Sussex brand. While legal discussions continued quietly inside Britain's royal institutions, another important shift was beginning far away in California. In the heart of the entertainment world, where image and influence can be just as powerful as talent, the conversation about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle started to change in tone. For several years after settling in Montecito, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex placed themselves at the center of a new beginning. Their California home became more than just a residence. It represented a fresh start built around media production, philanthropy, and strong partnerships with major entertainment companies. Their move opened doors to opportunities that combined royal recognition with Hollywood storytelling. Big platforms and agencies quickly saw the value in their global appeal. The couple had the ability to draw attention from audiences across the world, making them attractive partners in a highly competitive industry. Their presence created excitement, and many believed they would successfully transition into influential media figures. However, the discussion sparked by Kevin Costner's remarks began to spread across the same industry that had once welcomed them so warmly. Quietly behind closed doors in Los Angeles boardrooms, executives started to reassess their partnerships with greater care. In modern entertainment, reputation is extremely important. Contracts between celebrities and companies often include morality clauses. These are legal protections designed to help companies step back if a public figure becomes linked to controversy that could harm their image. For global platforms worth billions, decisions are rarely based on emotion. They are guided by careful strategy. When a partnership begins to carry reputational risk, executives must decide if it still benefits their brand. This careful evaluation is a standard part of protecting long-term investments. One of the most well-known examples is the Sussex's major deal with Netflix. This partnership was announced with high expectations and focused on producing documentaries, series, and storytelling projects. The goal was to combine personal stories with meaningful social themes. At the time, the deal marked their shift from royal duties to becoming media producers in the American entertainment space. As the wider conversation continued to grow, analysts began to look closely at how the situation might affect such projects. In today's digital world, public opinion can change very quickly. Even unconfirmed associations can shape how audiences feel. Because of this, companies often act fast to protect their reputation and future value. The situation also brought pressure to powerful talent agencies managing celebrity careers. Firms like WME, which represents Meghan Markle, work in a highly competitive space. Their success depends on maintaining strong relationships with both clients and corporate partners. When controversy appears, they must carefully consider how it might affect their overall business. What made this moment especially important was where the criticism was coming from. In the past, many negative stories about Meghan Markle were linked to the British tabloid press, which is often criticized for its intense coverage of the royal family. Supporters frequently believed those stories were shaped by bias or misunderstanding. This time, the conversation felt different. The discussion was coming from within Hollywood itself. Kevin Costner is not a tabloid writer or an unknown voice online. He is a respected figure in the entertainment industry, and his opinions carry weight among producers, investors, and decision-makers. As this shift in perception continued, the impact became harder to ignore. If the entertainment industry begins to see the Sussex brand as a risk instead of a strength, the California-based path they built after leaving royal life could face uncertainty. With Hollywood's mood quietly changing, a deeper question now begins to emerge. If the Sussex brand is no longer seen as an advantage, What does this mean for the future they have created? And where does Prince Harry truly belong as this new chapter continues to unfold? Prince Harry at a crossroads. As uncertainty continued to grow around the Sussex's position in both royal and Hollywood circles, attention slowly turned toward the person at the center of it all, Prince Harry. Once widely admired across Britain and beyond as a brave royal figure with a strong military background, he now found himself facing a complex, personal, and public situation. In the early months of 2026, observers began to notice a clear shift in his public appearances. In earlier years, many of his engagements were closely tied to Meghan Markle and their shared projects. However, that pattern started to change. More frequently, Harry appeared alone. At first, the difference was subtle, but over time, it became too noticeable to ignore. One of the most significant examples came during activities linked to the Invictus Games, the global competition he created to support wounded and injured military veterans. As he traveled to Canada to promote the upcoming stage of the event, cameras captured him interacting with athletes, military families, and organizers largely on his own. These moments felt familiar to those who had followed his journey for many years. During these engagements, Harry appeared to reconnect with the role that had once shaped his public image. He spoke clearly about resilience, recovery, and the importance of supporting those who had served in the military. His presence reflected the same sense of purpose that had once defined his place within the royal family. Soon after, another appearance took him far away from North America. During a humanitarian visit to Angola, Harry worked alongside organizations focused on clearing landmines from areas still affected by past conflicts. The visit carried deep meaning. Years earlier, his mother, Princess Diana, had brought global attention to the same issue when she walked through a minefield during an awareness campaign. Harry's presence in Angola echoed that powerful legacy. It reminded many people of the humanitarian efforts that once made him one of the most respected members of the royal family. The connection between past and present was clear, and it strengthened the sense that he was revisiting an important part of his identity. However, these appearances also highlighted a growing tension surrounding his current position. While Harry focused on causes connected to service and humanitarian work, the wider controversy involving Meghan continued to dominate headlines around the world. Each public engagement placed him in a difficult situation where he had to balance two very different realities. On one side was his commitment to his wife and the life they had built together in California after stepping back from royal duties. On the other side were increasing discussions in Britain about the reputation of the monarchy and the possibility of more serious institutional responses to the ongoing situation. This created a deeply personal challenge for Harry. In the past, his public identity had been firmly rooted within the royal system. His military service, charitable efforts, and connection with veterans helped shape the image of a prince defined by duty and strength. In recent years, however, his path had shifted toward a new environment where media projects, Hollywood partnerships, and celebrity connections played a major role in shaping his public life. Now, these two worlds appear to be moving in different directions. The balance that Harry and Meghan had tried to maintain since relocating to California seemed increasingly difficult to hold. Their efforts to build a life that combined royal heritage with opportunities in the entertainment industry depended on careful positioning. As criticism grew louder in both Britain and California, that balance began to weaken. The situation became even more uncertain after unexpected remarks from Kevin Costner created strong reactions across both royal and Hollywood circles. His comments added new pressure to an already sensitive moment, leaving many observers questioning what might come next. As these developments continued to unfold, a key question remained. Was this period simply another phase in a long and complex journey? Or could it represent the beginning of a deeper turning point for Harry and Meghan?